Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 14 of Levitated. Last time we set up our oil processing where we take raw oil, run it through a refinery, process the things that come out of it, and eventually end up with plastic, LPG, and lubricant. Today I would like to use some of these things and the rest of our pneumatic wrap stuff to get into both applied logistics and PCBs. Let's start with the PCBs, just because this is a slow process at this point. Applied logistics is, relatively speaking, faster. So, to make PCBs, we first have to make the empty PCBs. So I think, let's see, you craft one of these by just throwing some green plastic and compressed steel into a pressure chamber. Then let us make some green plastic. I kind of want faster fluid transport between the plastic drum and the mixer. I wonder, perhaps the speed upgrades in the conduit will do. But for now, I guess we'll just we'll make do with what we've got. Oh, we also upgraded our steel producer. Let's see how much steel we've made. It's been about. Come on, I didn't look at you. It's been about an hour since What? Why are they all so upset at me? I mean, okay, the one I looked at, the one I hit. I get why you guys are upset. Leave me alone. But yeah, it looks like in that hour we made like 5 stacks of steel, which is plenty fast. Can you stop, Enderman? Enderman, seriously. I just want to be left in peace. All right, leave me alone, other Enderman. You're gonna die like you're. No, you're not having any of it. Yeah, go away. Soon, we will be able to keep Endermen off our tails. I mean, I could just not look at them, but I'm not that good at the game. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take this and just turn it off. Turn off the extraction. If we throw some regular steel, and I've already forgot what color plastic it was. Steel and green plastic in. The items will sit inside our pressure chamber. Come on, any day now. Snap, snap. We can put speed upgrades, I think, into the thing to speed it up. But anyways, as we can see, the items have now become the PCBs. So to take it out, is that what it's called? No, it's called empty. And there we go. Empty PCBs get withdrawn. Cool. Next up we have to do is turn these empty PCBs into... Well, we need to give them an etching success chance. We can skip this process later by using the assembly machines, but we can't do that now. So what we have to do is make a UV light box, and that requires this PCB blueprint, which we have to buy either from a villager or from Amazon. So I'm gonna buy it from Amazon. We have 6 emeralds in here. That's not quite enough, is it? Where was that item? No, it takes 8. So I will sell Amazon 2 buckets of lubricant, or I guess 4 buckets of lubricant, to get a little bit more, a couple more emeralds. Come on, little drone. Such a cool mechanic. I mean, like trading, pretty simple, but the fact that they have that cool visual tied into it is pretty awesome. All right, anyways, once we get our delivery, you know what, I'm gonna just sell more. Sell as much as we can. 12. By doing so, we should be able to have extra emeralds available for later. We can then buy one of these PC blueprints, and through a similar delivery method, it should end up in this chest. Here it comes. And if we have Amazon delivery here, why can't we just, like, you know, let Amazon take us to the overworld? Amazon, fix up the overworld. Take us home. But whatever. With this, let's craft one of these. Come on. Turn you into those. Into that. Alright, I'm going to grab some of our remaining speed upgrades too, because I recall the UV light box is pretty slow. Plug it into air pressure to work. Alright, and then just throw your empty PCB into it, and it will, over time, etch it. So we can only do one at a time, and as you can see, that's not plugged into air pressure. Try that again. Plug it into... Nope. Third time's the charm. Where'd it go? Plug it into air pressure. There we go. Give it a board. And yeah, it makes relatively slow progress. Putting more cards in. Okay, that's not fast, but it's not slow. Then we just have to automate the piping in and out. I made a couple more speed upgrades to speed this process up a bit. As you put more speed upgrades in, it does increase its air consumption, so it's not free. But inserting new PCBs in is very simple. Just hopper them in. Getting when they're done, and look with 7 speed upgrades, it's legitimately fast. Getting it out requires a filter because you have to match the metadata. The etch chance is encoded in the metadata of this item, I believe. So that will leave the item in there until it is... Did I set the extract? I did. It'll leave it in here until it is etched to, or until it is UV lighted to 100%. Technically, you don't have to go all the way up to 100%, but why not? Does it slow down? Oh, I guess it slows down as the chance gets higher. I didn't know that. But anyways, they do stack if they're the exact same item. Next step is to etch the item. So by throwing it into a bucket of etching acid, or into a throwing it in world into etching acid, it'll become an unassembled PCB at the etch success chance. So at 100%, it happens, well, 100% of the time. This recipe has gotten simpler. It's a bucket of water and 2 rotten flesh in the pressure chamber. Make a bucket of etching acid in the pressure chamber, and then get it on the other side. Now all we have to do is place this in the world. Don't jump in it. It's bad for your health. Kind of. And then drop the 100% etch success chance PCBs into it. So, this is a process that takes 5 minutes. The item also despawns in 5 minutes. This item does not have despawn protection. So instead what I am going to do is set the despawn timer. That's something nice that the world item exporter here allows you to do. I didn't bring cables. What I have here is just a very simple world item exporter connected to a chest set to place all item entities, so drop everything, and the despawn time is set to forever. Put these in there. I should drop it into the thing, and we only have to do this a few times. We unlock a much less painful way of making these down the line, so I'm not going to bother truly automating this. But let's throw this into here, and that makes 9 of them. 9 might not be enough to make the better system, so I'm going to make a couple more than that. But for now, I want to, while we wait for that, this is really the slow part of making the PCBs. Let's switch processes and get our presses. As we saw last time, the applied energetic... we can... Hold on. Let me scroll, please. Oh, we can sell coal for emeralds. That's a much better deal. But the applied energistics presses cost item providing location. Can we get a item 2 item locations? No, we can't. All right. What was I saying? The applied energistics presses can be bought with emeralds. In fact, they have to be bought with emeralds. So let's go and sell some of that coal, sell some coal to buy emeralds, and then sell those emeralds to buy presses. Selling coal is better than selling lubricant, just because I have effectively an infinite amount of coal, right? I have 4,000 blocks of coal. So if I find that trade again, I can do, let's see, sell, I don't know how many coal that's going to sell. Like 5,000? No, 10,000-ish? 10,000 coal for 768 emeralds. Good enough for me. Do the thing. No? You won't do the thing? I put an emerald drawer here to make sure I have room for emeralds. It sometimes doesn't like interacting with certain inventories. I guess I'll just set up a chest that has a whole bunch of coal in it. I think there's just a limit to how big each individual trade can be, so I'll just sell 256 coal a few times. I also switched to linking to the controller instead of the slave. But as you see here, the drones are coming, yoinking our coal, and then they will come back later and bring us our emeralds. And then I will sell those emeralds for 1 each of these. Great space in the bound inventory. All right, for that I'm gonna link to a chest. Other things I want to buy include 1 copy of the assembly program. May as well just get the good assembly program. And 1 copy each of the presses. I think that's it, right? Let's take a quick look. Wait, we can buy it for 11 instead of 14. Aha! Give me the cheaper deal. Yeah, of these, none of the other stuff I care about, so place order, give me stuff. And stuff is delivered, just in time. To use those presses, we have to make an inscriber. To make an inscriber, we need flux crystal, so let's make some flux crystal. That's made from charred certus. Let's take, sure, 4 stacks. 4 stacks of nether quartz. I don't have that much of it, but it's pretty easy to get if I need more. And some inventory space. And lastly, some redstone. Toss all this into some water. And voila! You get a ton of fluix out of it. I think you get 2 pieces of fluix for every piece of charred certus. Apparently, I had an extra stack of certus quartz. Alright, whatever. This should be plenty to get us started. I'm actually going to go ahead and make the crystal growth chamber now. I learned a somewhat interesting trick recently. So this thing makes growing crystals a lot easier. However, it requires AE power. We need something to generate AE power, but I have a cool trick for that. Hang tight. Just kidding, my cool trick doesn't work. Someone told me that the charger in Applied Energistics can convert RF into AE, but it doesn't work. The fluix seed here is not growing. I've tried. Wait, when I rotate the charger, it flashes for a tick. So if I keep doing this, will that work? I don't think so. There's something weird going on here. I'm not quite sure what it is. But instead of trying to get cute, we can just make an energy acceptor. Our applied energistics system is going to take up a little bit of room, so I think I'm going to level out some terrain here, give us some place to build that isn't all crowded like it is over there. Thankfully, the destruction gadget makes that quite easy. Place the crystal growth chamber by the energy acceptor to give it AE power, and as you can already see, we are growing fluix seeds. This is much faster in the chamber than it is by throwing items into water with the boosters, even if you have a max number of boosters, I think. But the biggest thing is the chamber means you don't have to deal with item entities in world, which is much easier to deal with items as like items than as item entities. Cool. So anyways, we need this pure fluix to make the ME controller. I think that's one of the few recipes that only accept pures. The real ME controller, not those fake lookalikes, wherever you are. Am I blind? Here we go. Oh, the real one doesn't sparkle. So we have to make the engineering processes in Skystone. I think Skystone, come on. Yeah, we can turn netherrack into Skystone with Ender Air. And hey, conveniently, we're surrounded by Ender Air. For the Inscriber, we're going to start off with the basic one, just because that's all we have access to for now. And make, does this work? Yeah. And make a couple engineering processors for the Advanced Inscriber. Then the Advanced Inscriber is both easier to automate and much faster than the basic one. Trying to automate the basic Inscriber has a whole lot of drawbacks. Its internal buffers only hold a single item, it's slow, it has weird sidedness. Basically the top item and the bottom item have to come from the sides without the presses. It's like those things that stamp in. And then the middle item has to come from any side but the side with the presses. It's a total pain. So yeah, Advanced Inscriber, here we go. The Advanced Inscriber, on the other hand, can buffer a whole stack of items. So even just if you're batch crafting, there's a whole stack. It's no faster without acceleration cards, but it also has room for 5 acceleration cards, which are quite easy to make. In fact, I'm going to start by making some of those. It's been a while since I played a pack with almost completely default applied energistics recipes. These components are really cheap with default recipes. So anyways, there's some upgrades for that, some upgrades for this, and now we're zooming. Let's see, calculation press. Yeah, it takes like, we do like 2 a second, 3 a second, very fast. I've queued up 100-ish circuits of various forms to be processed. While that work processes, so let's grab out our unassembled PCBs. I I've slowly been adding them to this chest as they finish up. They've haven't despawned. This item does not despawn. Oh, maybe my thing about it not despawning was a lie. Wait. Yeah, empty PCB, it does not despawn. Oh, okay, so I guess they don't despawn. Must be an older version where they did. Whatever. Now, to turn these into actual PCBs, we need a bunch of solder, some transistors, and capacitors. Let's start by taking a look at the solder. It's tin and lead 1-to-1 ratio in a smeltery. This is an easy way to make it. We've made it the hard way before, but I mean, no sense not doing the easy way, or no sense doing the hard way when we have the easy way, right? So, tin, lead and tin, go into here. What do I have in here already? Nothing important. That gradually alloys into solder. It's like we have perfect ratios. And because we need a lot of this, I want to just store it in a drum. The faucet's a little slower pouring, so we will extract green active with, or extract brown active with signal, insert on brown, and go. This will fill it up with whatever fluid is first in the thing, which in this case is solder. And then once we have a bunch of solder, well, that'll make us a bunch of solder. Next, let's take a look at the resistors and transistors. Printed circuit board. All right. To make a stack of PCBs, we need 3 stacks each of transistors and capacitors. Each of these are stack of compressed steel, we need 6 stacks of compressed steel, 6 stacks of redstone, 3 stacks of cyan, and black plastic. The fact that you tend to craft plastic in such huge batches is why I like having a plastic buffer. We went through just about 100% of our plastic buffer, and once a buffer is out, our plastic production rate is much slower, right? We only make a bucket every second-ish. But anyways, we have all these items. For now, do I have a spare chest on me? I'm just going to... I have a lot of pink chests just floating around here. When you're trying to move this many items into the pressure chamber, it's one of those cases where it's probably easier to just break the thing open and throw them in by hand. So that's redstone, and the last thing is 6 stacks of steel. That's why we had to upgrade our steel producer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you still running? Yeah, you are. You've stopped being loud. Good on you, Coke Oven. Good on you. Alright, so the steel is going to first turn into... Oopsies. Don't want to throw that in there. The steel is first going to turn into the compressed steel, and then it's going to turn in... Oh, come on. Land in the thing. And then it's going to turn into... Did I get all of it? I think that's all of it. Close up. And then it's going to turn into transistors and capacitors. On the output here, I set the filter to name contains STOR. So that'll match both of these. And out the other end, in a couple moments, we will get our transistors, 3 stacks each of transistors and capacitors. A stack of printed circuit boards lasts an incredibly long time. If it turns out we need more, we can either just batch craft another stack like this, or we can either batch craft another stack, or we can automate the process. Honestly, well, we use them for machine frames. We'll see. It's a lot of steps to automate, especially if you want to do like everything end to end, and it's not that hard to just make it a stack at a time. Also, apparently capacitors don't have an S in them. There we go, that works. Then we can take our however many buckets of solder that was, 200 some buckets of solder, explosions. Our transistors, unassembled PCBs, everything, put it all together into the assembler. I'll put that there. We'll have to wipe the stuff over. That fills up. Give it some speed upgrades so that it's not painfully slow. And does that work? All right. Let's also then give it a chest to queue up the item inputs. Oh, that's a fluid conduit. I was like, what? Why does the conduit not connect to the chest? All right. And that should do it. We are now making printed circuit boards. Why are you not getting more solder? Did I mess this up? Extract on brown, fluid conduit insert on brown. Oh, this is super weird. The assembler, while it has items in it, will not accept fluid input. But when it has no items in it, it will accept fluid input. What? Is this like documented behavior from the assembler? Does it only accept fluids when there are no items? I don't understand. Why? Like, it's not accepting fluids right now, right? Even if it's not a valid recipe, it doesn't accept fluids. I've disconnected the item pipe. But as soon, right, no fluids. There's plenty of solder in there. If I take this out, it accepts fluids. What? My mind is so blown right now. All right, well, I guess we have to deal with that quirk of this stupid machine now. Out of curiosity, I have to see what the book says about the assembler. Let's see, are you here anywhere? This is, by the way, the hardest using book to, the hardest in-game documentation to possibly use. Is this sorted alphabetically? No, it isn't. Alright, well, I've managed to go through the entire, I think I've managed to go through the entire index without seeing documentation on the assembler. I've never seen the assembler used before. I didn't even know it was a thing in extra utilities. So, who knows? Yeah. Given the thing's pain in the buttness, I'm just going to run it manually to finish our one stack of printed circuit boards. We'll deal with automating it later when and if becomes necessary. And it does look like it will become necessary because it is the only way to make these, well, it is the early way to make these Tech Reborn circuits. Eventually, I guess we get a less painful machine to try to make these in. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to having to use this thing more often now. Wait a second. Turns out that strange behavior is somewhat unique to using ender fluid conduits to move the fluid. I'd switched over to using a fluid interface and fluid exporter, and it works now. I don't understand. I'm not going to question it. It works. I will shut up, accept that it works, and deal with other things, I guess. Anyways, this makes our printed circuit board slightly less painfully. Actually, I suspect I know why it didn't work with the ender fluid conduit, but it does work with this thing. When on export fluids mode, this moves fluids in one bucket at a time increments. If I were to set this to, say, 200 millibuckets at a time, which is what the ender fluid conduit does, I suspect it's not going to work. Let's craft one and see. Yes, what's happening is that the assembler has logic built into it to try to prevent deadlocks. That's why if I have items like this, no matter what I do, it will always put the item into the right slot. It'll never, like, I can't, you know, spread this item out in a way that deadlocks the assembler. One part of that thing is that when you have these two items in here, it knows that with those two items, the only possible thing you can do is use solder by the bucket, which means that it will not accept solder in increments less than a bucket. It probably won't accept solder in increments greater than a bucket either. It has to be increments of buckets. So because the fluid exporter here moves fluid in increments of a bucket, it does work. So reasonable design, I guess. Just a little bit awkward to understand, and the documentation doesn't exist. But whatever. We have our printed circuit boards. Switching gears back to Applied Energistics, let's bottle some ender air. Delicious, delicious ender air. Convert the netherrack into endstone. Skystone. And we can empty our bottles again. Nifty. Do I need this version of... No, I need that version of skystone. So I guess we melt it to turn it into the useful skystone. Jumping back to using our PCBs, I hope my attention deficit here isn't getting to you too much. I want to set up our laser table. In addition to the laser table, these PCBs can be used to make the flux compressor, so that's very good. That converts FE or RF into air pressure. So let's pin the things I want to do with this. There's that. There's the lasers, which I think I'm going to pin the table. Or perhaps the controller will work. And there's the machine chassis. So can we make enhanced Yeah, there's no reason not to go to enhanced here, right? I mean, with the exception that it costs... No, it just uses end steel instead. Yeah, we can make enhance. Oh, this is negative pressure. Very interesting. So industrial machines use very high pressure. Soul machines use very, very high pressure. And enhanced machines use negative pressure. I've never done negative pressure crafting before. Let's pin that. Take a look at it later. I guess given that, then let's do the flux compressor. No. Let's do the assembly table so I can deal with the high and low pressures better with the upgraded pressure tubes, and then we'll make the flux compressor, and then we'll do the chassis. The assembly system is consisting of at least, well, exactly one controller, exactly, see, I need some orange plastic as well, one table, rather platform, not table, 2 IO units. See, some of these. Nested crafting. We're almost at applied energy sticks. All right, 2 assembly IO units, and then at least a drill or a laser, or both. And in this case, I'm going to do both. So what am I out of? Tubes. Place it over here. So the air is inserted into the controller. From there, anywhere adjacent to the controller, you'll want to put IOU, well, let me think about how exactly I want this to be laid out. I want that there, 2 IO units, a drill, a laser, and I think you can set one of these to out, I guess I want input, output, something like that. Couple chests, the input arm, well, let's get our program from that we bought from Amazon, put the program into the controller. Now this requires at least 3.5 bar to run. So why are we not at sufficient pressure? We have sufficient pressure up here, but due to pressure losses, by the time we get here, we no longer have enough pressure. Okay, for now I guess we can just move it to put it closer to our pressure tube, but I have our long-term solution will involve using higher pressure in the pipes when we get advanced pipes. A little cramped in this corner, but I think we can take down our PCB light box thing here because we don't need it anymore. It is replaced by this system. So I'll set you to, let's see, you input, you output. Program goes here, and we can tuck chests away like this and that. All right, so put input items into here. For now, I'll just put some blocks of compressed steel. And then to speed this up, we can put our speed upgrades into the controller. And that we get this really cool animation where the arms pick up the stuff and then the other arms do the stuff to the blocks. So it's like lasering it or probably drilling it. That looks more like a drill than a laser. It drills it, then it lasers it. And then speed it up a little more. Yeah, I just put all 7 speed upgrades in, whatever. And then the output product gets subbed into here. So now we have advanced pipes. Oh. Probably don't want to share these chests, huh? Moving more chests around. So anyways, now we have advanced pipes. As you can see here, this can support up to 20 bars of pressure, and that's very good. This is also used to make the various advanced compressors. So advanced air compressor, advanced liquid compressor, and the flux compressor is just only advanced. Let's make one of these. I think the rotor here has to be made, yeah, in the pressure chamber, and everything else is pretty straightforward. One flux compressor is easily enough for the power, like to make enough air. For controlling the flux compressor, I need some advanced PCBs to configure the pressure tube gauge to behave slightly differently. Turns out the advanced ones are actually like cheaper than the basic ones. You get 4 advanced per basic, so it's advanced, but it's cheaper. Whatever, I'm not going to complain. So I'm going to leave our current setup in place just because it's still like doing stuff and it might take a little bit of time to set up this other compressor system. So the idea is that with a advanced compressor, put it facing this way. Is that in line with the others? Yeah. When it receives RF, so we can power it with one of these, will generate air. Not terribly surprising, right? There we go. By default, it uses 40 RF per tick, and I think it says, like, yeah, for each RF it consumes, it generates 0.4 milliliters of air. Right now it's venting it, that's okay. We can upgrade this with speed upgrades, and it should keep the same ratio of energy in to air out. So 118, it is now using 296. No, it does get less efficient then. I thought it didn't get less efficient until you made the temperature get too high. Well, anyways, as you put more of these in, it consumes more energy and it gets hotter. So right now it's well, it's building up pressure internally, although it is venting. But anyways, if you get much more than like 6 to 8-ish speed upgrades, it can build up pressure even with an open vent to the point where it explodes, which is kind of funny. But anyways, now we're making 313 milliliters a tick, consuming 800 RF. No, that is about right, isn't it? You get 40%. Maybe that's right. Anyways, relative to this thing, which produces 256. So right now, our air compressor is making more air than... Our flux compressor is making more air than our other air compressor. But it's just venting it all. That's obviously not optimal use of air. Could you get out of the way, please? If I put a pipe here, the pipe will... We can then put a pressure gauge... Pressure... I don't want you on that side. Well, I really don't want you to close off the pipe. Hold on. We're gonna set you to enable on... Let's set you to be enabled on a high signal. Alright. Put the redstone... Oh, does that actually turn it on? Are you running right now? I can't tell. Current air is not going up, so no. Okay. I wasn't sure if the redstone signal from this would power that. But what I want this to do is, instead of telling me about how full it is by putting that there, we can now say, oh, emit when... What does this say? Ah, okay. We can set a open and a close threshold, I think. You know what? Let's forget the advanced threshold. We will emit a signal when the pressure is less than, be on the safe side, 19 bar. And then we can just do this. I need a repeater. There we go. And that will automatically run our flux compressor until the pipe here reaches 19 bar. That means the pressure in the compressor might be a hair higher than this, so we don't want to set this to 20. Otherwise, we have a chance of exploding. Anyways, as I put more speed upgrades in here, we can see it gets faster. The temperature also goes up. As the temperature gets too high, it loses efficiency. Does it say exactly when? No, it doesn't. Well, I'm not too worried about the details. To cool it down, just put a block next to it. This acts as a heat conductor. I think, no, I guess it doesn't hurt you. I thought that if you get these sufficiently hot, they hurt you. But then put some heat sinks on the block here, and it vents the heat to atmosphere effectively, and keeps our compressor cool. So with 8 upgrades, it generates a lot of air until it reaches a threshold, at which point it shuts off. And then if I vent this air, it turns on again. This 19-ish PSI air, though, can't really be used for much because, well, all of this stuff here explodes if you give it more than 5 PSI. So we need some way to step our high pressure down to low pressure for usage. What I'm going to do is run... I'm going to omit that piece for now. I'm going to swap out all of our pressure tubes here for these high pressure tubes. Even if I intend for it to only hold 5 PSI, I believe the flow rate is higher than in the flow rate is higher on advanced tubes than basic tubes. There is a downside to using this 20 bar tube where on the 5 bar side of your network, and that is that if you do cause an overpressure event, it's not going to be the pipe that explodes, it's going to be one of your presumably more valuable than pipe components that go up. So in a sense, pipes are likely to act as a fuse just by virtue of there being more pipes than machines if you use the basic pipe, but I'm just going to count on the fact that I do not make mistakes. So, to convert the 20 bar that will be in this pipe as soon as I plug it in down to the 5 bar that powers all of this stuff, I'm going to use a regulator module. So if we place a regulator module there, it can be, the threshold can be set with redstone, but you have to, like, you know, give it a redstone signal of exactly 5. I don't want that. I want I just want it to output a maximum of, well, output, yeah, a maximum of 5 bar. It outputs the maximum of this number or what its actual pressure is. So that can output into more pipes. No harm getting air pressure into that thing, I think. Do I want to avoid putting air pressure into the LPG one? Nope, no harm putting air pressure into it. And now the air pressure can flow into the subnet from our main net, or well, into the low pressure side from our high pressure side, or vice versa. But right now, by plugging this in, we have 5 bar coming off of this here, right? As you can see, this side has exceeded 5, but downstream, it outputs at most 5. And the fact that there is a little bit of pressure loss per segment means that you want to keep your low pressure sides relatively short. You don't want to run extremely long segments of low pressure piping. So likewise, if I want to get some pressure to here, let's see, we could run this segment here as high pressure pipe, put a regulator module here, set that to 5, and then plug that in. And plug this in and in as well. And now we have 5 bars of pressure starting here. That'll, practically speaking, cause these to never turn on. In fact, we can just shut those off now. We no longer need our pressure generated by the air compressor to run. We can also take this charging station here, put that on the, oh look, we got a chicken, on the high pressure side, which can allow it to charge up to 20 psi, because this is, or 20 bar, because this is a 20 bar device. Ow. So I suppose the threshold at which it burns you is just a little bit higher than I thought. If you want to cool this down further, you can use a vortex tube, use the cold side of a vortex tube. At some point, oh, we're drawing a lot of energy. I think we have exceeded the temperature at which it starts losing efficiency, so we probably should use a vortex tube to cool it down. This is 20 psi or 20 bar capable, but running it at 20 bar does use extra energy. Just looking at the sheer amount of heat we have to draw off this thing, it probably is best to use a vortex tube. Probably want our vortex tube to put the cold side. Oh, that is the cold side. Okay. Cold side facing this, hot side facing something to dump heat, and then get some air into it, and then we can turn this back on. That should both keep our, oh wait, that's, temperature is rising. It should be falling. How do I, hold on, did I place this backwards? Nope, cold side is south side. This side is south, right? Facing north, no. What's happening here? Cold side is that side, north side, yeah. I guess it's drawing heat off, but it's only capable of drawing heat off so quickly. Is it better if I don't heat sink this side? No, not at all. I think vortex tubes are very good at making something hot. They're less good at making something cool. So, by just using a lot of heat sinks, their job is to make things cool. There's just a line of compressed steel blocks in there to draw the heat away, and the heat sinks to dissipate it into atmosphere. And by the time we get to the end, it's barely warmer than atmospheric temperature. So this is now cool enough that we can stand on without getting, oh, just kidding. We can't stand on it without getting hurt, but at least we don't get lit on fire. So, you know, it's an improvement, right? As long as we're running below 100 degrees, we get optimal output. Like this is 755 for 2197. I'm pretty sure that's exactly 40%. So that's the best we're gonna get. Anyways, this is now making our air pressure for us. And our system here now, it might have the 4.5. Yeah, it has upwards of, oh, I guess it's only 3.5 it needed. I misread it. So we can leave this here, or we can move it somewhere else and supply it directly with 5 bar. I keep saying PSI when I mean to say bar, but supply it directly with 5 bar air. Anyways, I'm gonna just, most of this is working now, and I you know, don't break, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There we go. So we're just gonna leave this as is, but we are out of time. So let's unpin the things we have done. In fact, let's just clean up our pins altogether. I'm gonna leave something applied energistics on to remind myself I have to keep doing. We have to finish setting up the applied energistics system, but I think the rest of this can go. Feels good. Okay, so next time we'll come back and set up the various machine frames. Some that need high pressure, some that need low pressure, and then set up the rest of our applied energistics system as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.